Finally, the huge moves we have waited for all this time have been unveiled by Edmonton Oilers general manager Ken Holland, and Kailer Yamamoto is back on the active roster. It's been a big day in Edmonton Oilers land, friends. I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. It's glad to have you along today because we got a lot to discuss in terms of Vinny Desharnais and Dylan Holloway, who have been sent down to the Bakersfield Condors. Well, they are going to go get some playing minutes, and it's a tale of two different players who may or may not need playing minutes at the AHL level. Before we get there, though, friends, if you're new to the channel, alright, this is my appeal to you right now. Take the rest of this video, consider hitting that subscribe button here on Dolynny TV. And this is even too, if you're returning and this is your third, fourth video you've watched and haven't done it yet, hey, I'd love to get you the videos that much faster. And if you hit that subscribe button, that indeed does happen. So friends, Kailer Yamamoto, like I said, activated off of the LTIR back onto the Oilers roster, and that leaves the Oilers with three players on the LTIR: Ryan Murray, Oscar Klefbom. Oh, what's that goalie there that we got there? That guy that we rode all the way to the third round of the Stanley Cup playoffs this year, last year. That's 2023 now. Remind myself that. Mike Smith. So that's where we're at right now, right? Is we've got three players remaining on LTIR. The Oilers did not maneuver another player to LTIR, thank goodness, because that would have been the lamest result out of anything they could have done. And that currently leaves us with $562.5 thousand of cap space with a 20-man roster. That's what you need to know today for the Edmonton Oilers. 20-man roster, and well, 90 million at the cap. We're way above in the LTIR usage, and not enough money to call somebody up. So right now, as it stands, friends, I'll list off the Oilers on the active roster, and then we'll get to Vinny Desharnais and Dylan Holloway. And these are the Oilers we are committed to until at least the NHL trade deadline, in my mind, if not potentially moving forward. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Evander Kane, Kailer Yamamoto, Jesper Puljujärvi, Warren Foegele, Derek Ryan, Matthias Janmark, Ryan McLeod, and Klim Kostin. Right now you've got 12 forwards. Now you have to play them all. Darnell Nurse, Tyson Barrie, Cody Ceci, Brett Kulak, Evan Bouchard, and Philip Broberg. There you go. You have to play all your defense too, and you're stuck with two goalies depending what's happening day to day, and that is Stuart Skinner and Jack Campbell. And like I said, Murray, Smith, and Klefbom on the LTIR. Obviously, too, though, friends, things do kind of clear up. I did say the Oilers are doomed next year in terms of cap space, but there is some ways around it if they can work themselves some magic. Obviously, Sekera and Lucic come off the books next year. That's your salary cap update recap for today. And with that, we've got Dylan Holloway going down to the Bakersfield Condors, friends. Well, let me tell you, that's much needed. The poor guy has not seen much ice time here post All-Star break, and he has not produced many results, and he has not done very much all season long. He's had some bright moments, he's had some good moments, but Dylan Holloway, you know what, the worst case scenario for him is he goes and gets top line minutes at the AHL level, finds another wrinkle to his game, comes back up and is playoff ready, because you know he will be here playoff time for the Edmonton Oilers. So don't think it's the end of Dylan Holloway. It's definitely not the end of Vinny Desharnais in Edmonton. But for right now, just to make things work until the trade deadline, the Oilers had to do something. And this is the most easiest, simplest, most well thought out thing that Ken Holland could do without doing a Peter Chiarelli goof up. All right, so here's the other thing for the Oilers too. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games left in March. And then all of a sudden you go into into March, you go down and you play one more game on Wednesday, March 1st against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So you've got 7 games remaining until the NHL trade deadline, right? So you've got roughly, right now we're 2 weeks out. You're playing a game every 2 days until then. But as it works out for the Oilers, realistically, not much is going to escape you from the Pacific Division as long as you tread water. And that's kind of where it is, right? This is where we'll get to the Vinny Desharnais angle in a minute. But for the Oilers, as long as they tread water and at least keep a positive win-loss record within the wild card situation here, the Oilers sitting comfortably above the Calgary Flames and Minnesota Wild at 66 points to their 61, and currently sitting 4 points out of first place, is you go positive over the next 7 games, 4-3, you get 8 points. And even if Calgary in the next little bit, right, say they play 7 games, you're 5 points up, you get 8 points. The most they can surpass you by is a total of 1 point, right? You get 8, you're up to 70. You get 8, you're up to 74. They get all 14, they're up to 75. So this is kind of a calculated risk on part of GM Ken Holland to sit here and say, you know what, no matter what, the way the playoff race is shaping up, even if the Oilers butcher it really bad, Nashville would have to go, well, even if nobody can really surpass the Oilers to boot them out of the playoffs. Minnesota, even if they have 7 games, would only get up to 75. So you're looking at the Oilers at worst, as long as they maintain a 4-3 record to the trade deadline, will only be 1 point out of the playoffs by the NHL trade deadline. You add somebody like Patrick Kane, Erik Karlsson, Jake McCabe, Jacob Chychrun, any of those names to this roster, even Vladislav Gavrikov, despite all his faults, would be enough to put this team into a playoff spot if they're on the outside looking in. So that's where it's a calculated risk. Now this is here, I had this graphic I didn't show you earlier, right? Kailer Yamamoto activated, Dylan Holloway, Vinny Desharnais have been loaned to the Bakersfield Condors. Why I'm showing you this now is because it's not a paper transaction. They will go down and play. And as I said with Holloway, it's a much needed big time breath of fresh air in his season. For Vinny Desharnais, this is why I just told you that there's a calculated risk on the part of GM Ken Holland, is because the Oilers with Supernova, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins should and will more than likely maintain a 4-3 record into the trade deadline. The problem with that is you just gave up your best defensive defenseman and perhaps your best penalty killer you've had all season on the blue line in Vinny Desharnais to fit Kailer Yamamoto in. And that's where, like I said, it's a great thing for Mr. Dylan Holloway. It really stinks to be giving up Vinny Desharnais at this point because we could really use him. And you think, right, if the Oilers could go 5-2 in the next 7, well, hold on. No one can pass you. You maintain that number 1 wildcard spot. Maybe you climb the standings in the Pacific Division. Away you go. You get where I'm going, right? But it's really rough to see the Oilers have to sacrifice that for a guy like Kailer Yamamoto who, you know what, say all season he hasn't been great, he could be better, but he's also been nagging an injury all season long, and now he's taken this time, he's ready to go, and he's back to full health. And I guess the worst eventuality is if he ends up on the LTIR, you again gain that cap space, and away you go. So the thing for the Oilers is it's not worst case scenario to have given up Vinny Desharnais, and it's a calculated risk to do as such because realistically, as long as you're a 500 team, by adding back Kailer Yamamoto plus 500, I guess, just by 1 game, 4-3, you should be no worse for wear by the time you make your major acquisitions at the NHL trade deadline. So that's kind of where we sit today, friends. Is it a really tough one to see Vinny Desharnais go down? Absolutely it is, but Dylan Holloway will benefit 100% from this, and the best part is the Oilers, despite looking worse off, are probably better off. And this is not me singing a different tune. This is me just checking the notes and looking at them twice and saying, hey, you know what? This ain't the worst case scenario. And at least we did get some kind of roster move instead of an LTIR placement at Puljujarvi or Foegele. And somehow magically we solved it that way. No, instead we actually do see the Oilers have to get creative. They get creative, send Holloway and Desharnais down, and now we get to see what the impact of having a healthy Kailer Yamamoto for perhaps the first time all season will be on the Edmonton Oilers lineup. I look forward to hopefully catching you at some point during tonight's game. Unfortunately, I do have Friday night commitments. I have a buddy that asked me out to the bar to go and enjoy for me, an iced tea while he has a beverage, and we sit there and chat during the first period before he heads off to hockey tonight. And secondary too, I've got some family to take care of before he shows up at the bar tonight. So friends, enjoy the start of the hockey game. We'll talk some point probably before the third period, and I appreciate you being along for the ride this afternoon as we recap all the craziness today. I hear there's whisperings that you might have some inside access to Rogers Place on YouTube tonight. I'll keep that for you to chew on. And friends, before you head out, if you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button here on the channel. Thank you so much. I am up on, out of here.